I am absolutely mortified. I decided to take down the video I posted earlier because a viewer pointed out to me, and I don't know how I missed this in the editing process, but she pointed out to me that Mocha Baby was in the background picking her nose and doing the unthinkable with it, not once, not twice, but 3 times. And so I took it down, and I'm hoping to paste salient parts of that video to this one, and then I'll come back and try to finish answering Dr. D's question a little bit more fully. She wants to know how I assess and grade writing since it's so subjective. And it's a very good question because I struggled with it for years trying to figure out how many points to take off, how do I know this is an A or not an A. One thing that really helped me is realizing that writing is a multifaceted process. How do we become good writers? Is it that we learn the mechanics and then boom, we're able to write really creatively and persuasively? Or is it that we read really, really good books and writing just sort of becomes intuitive? I think it's both. I had to change my approach to how I assess the writing. I kind of compartmentalized it. I grade the mechanics, which is very easy to grade. The grammar, taking a work of fiction and analyzing it. For example, what's the rising action? What's the falling action? What's the climax? Do the kids understand who the main character is? What the plot is? Those things are easy to grade, and I do that. But when it comes to the subjective aspect of grading, I take a slightly different approach. But when it comes to content and did you really answer the question that I asked you? Were you thorough in answering the question? Were you persuasive enough? When it comes to that sort of subjective stuff, I grade to the A. And what I mean by that is that I introduced to my kids really early on that writing is a multiple draft process. While we're tempted to quickly read what's asked of us, write something, and if there are no spelling errors, then we're done. That's often not our best work. Sometimes we have to go and write it again and again and maybe even again to make sure that we've completely and thoroughly done what was asked of us. And so when my kids are going through the different stages of the drafting process, I don't grade that. I may point out, you know, your sentence structure was wrong here, but I don't penalize them for that because, again, I'm compartmentalizing how I grade. That would have been done when we're learning mechanics. In the drafting process, I point it out, they fix it, they do it over, they give me another draft. And then I go deeper and I look and see how well they answered what I asked. And we draft and draft and draft until I look at it and I see that they completely did what I asked them to do, and that's an A. Now, one of the main things we focus on is understanding what is being asked. When they give me back their first draft, it becomes clear right away whether or not they understood. And sometimes it's me. Sometimes the question that I asked wasn't clear enough. The second part of her question was trying to understand what to expect of her kids in their writing. And I know with me, having so many different age groups, it's becoming more and more obvious how to look for that. With, say, my first grader, she's learning how to read more fluently. She's trying to improve her writing skills. So I don't make her do a lot of physical writing, but she may express an interest in writing. Like, for example, if we're doing birthday cards or something like that, she may want to write something. She may do more copy work. We may talk about what a story is. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. We can start verbalizing stories that she makes up. I read a whole lot to her. I bombard her with good literature, good stories that can start helping her frame what writing sounds like to kind of develop the intuitive side of her writing ability. Then you have my 4th grader who does a lot of reading of her own, who maybe doesn't have all the mechanics together. She's very enthusiastic about her writing. She comes up with really fun ideas, but she might put her parentheses in the wrong place, or she might have her sentence structure all wrong. So with her, I start at the beginning with the mechanics, and I separately work with teaching her step by step the mechanics of writing. And when she gives me a writing assignment, I will grade what she wrote only as far as what I've taught her so far. So if we really haven't worked with writing fluid paragraphs, but we've been doing sentence structure and she knows how to use prepositional phrases and things like that, I'll concentrate on correcting those prepositional phrases, and I'll praise her for the good idea that she had. And then we move on to my older 2 kids, my 13 and 14-year-old, who have the mechanics pretty much down. Now I'm more interested in content. So when I'm working with them, I'll point out that they might have a mechanical error and they'll correct it, but I'm not penalizing them for those type of errors. Now I'm focusing on the deeper things and fleshing out whether or not they're giving me an answer that has depth and that's complete and that's thorough, and they're using good persuasive tools and things like that. So I think an important thing that I've learned is that not to do too much too soon and to allow it to unfold at a natural pace. I do believe that sometimes when we put too much structure on it, it can stifle the writing. So anyway, those are some of my thoughts. Thank you for watching. Thank you for bearing with me. Hope that helps somebody. Be blessed.